Hello and welcome to another edition of Agenda 2063 TV show, the only show in Ghana, the region, and the continent telling you authentic stories about Africa's integration. What we're also trying to do is to get you to remind yourself of the Africa we want, because at the end of the day, that is what Agenda 2063 is about. We want to make sure that you are reading it regularly and reminding us also through WhatsApp, through emails, messages, of what other issues around Agenda 2063 that you might want. My name is E.K Bensah Jr., your regular host for the show. Happy to be here, to be coming into your homes. We'll be coming right back with our usual two segments, and we hope to give you a good show. We'll be right back. Welcome back from the break, and welcome to APRM Watch. APRM Watch is the space where we give you updates of developments around the African Peer Review Mechanism. Africa Peer Review Mechanism is one of the so-called Midrand institutions, which is to say it's one of the AU institutions based in Midrand, South Africa. There are three of them. There's a Pan-African Parliament, there's the APRM, and then there's also NEPAD AU Development Agency. APRM, or the APRM Continental Secretariat, does a lot of work going around member states seeking to get them to buy into the idea that we need to practice good governance among ourselves, and we don't need Westerners to come and tell us how to do our good governance. So the AU's Africa Peer Review Mechanism really says that Africans can do good governance by themselves. And so what they do is often to get look at country reviews. And one of the countries that is doing very well is Kenya. Even though Ghana was one of the countries that started really buying into the idea of Africa Peer Review Mechanism, Kenya has also done very well, and even taken it to the local level, where they are domesticating it so people understand it better. Let me just give you very quick updates of developments on the APRM Twitter feed. Now, just 2 days ago, the AU welcomed the DRC to the peer review mechanism at the 30th APRM Forum of Heads of State and Government, and urged other countries to join the initiative. So right now it means that we have less than 30 countries now who have to subscribe to the APRM. We are very happy about that. Also, a couple of days ago, APRM was quite involved in Kenya, and the Kenyan President Uhuru spoke to State House, where he presented Kenya's second country review report to the 30th Summit of the African Peer Review Forum of Heads of State and Government, which was held virtually. At the meeting chaired by President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa in his capacity as the current chairperson of the Africa Peer Review Forum, President Kenyatta affirmed Kenya's commitment to the APRM process, saying it promotes accountability. So basically, Uhuru Kenyatta is also saying that he's committed to building a cohesive and progressive Kenyan society through participatory processes such as the Building Bridges initiative that seeks to bring Kenyans together in new governance processes. So that is that with Kenya and APRM. But one of the other things that was on the Twitter feed of APRM was that while the COVID-19 pandemic has caused great suffering on the African continent and around the world, the African Peer Review Mechanism remains a priority for countries on the continent. This was what President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa was saying, because he wants to ensure that member states still pay attention to good governance. And finally, on the Twitter feed, APRM chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa Faki Mahamat, says the African Peer Review Mechanism has proved to be critical in the promotion and exercise of good governance desired by the African Union. So basically, I think we all get the long and short of it. APRM is about good governance. It's about promoting good governance of Africans by Africans. And there's still a long way ahead. 2023 is when the APRM hopes that all member states would have subscribed to it. So we will be watching and seeing whether more countries will join. DRC just joined a couple of days ago, but we need more countries to join so that we can have a fully participatory APRM, Africans monitoring their own governance a lot better. So that's with the APRM. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with Ear on East Africa in a minute. We'll be right back. Welcome back from the break, and as always, I'm very happy to be coming to you, giving you updates about Ear on East Africa. Ear on East Africa is an opportunity for all of us to catch up with developments in East Africa, because there's a lot of very interesting things happening there all the time, as there is in different regions. But we feel that their financial integration, mobile money, and all those things are things that we all need to keep abreast of, so that we can quickly use that to also push for developments here in this part of the world. Now, you may recall that I've made a lot of noise in the past in this segment about the role that Kenya has played in encouraging mobile money. Kenya was a leader, was a pioneer in mobile money, M-Pesa, and so on. Well, it looks like East Africa is is going to continue leading the way as far as mobile money is concerned. Because just recently, Tanzania's Benjamin Fernandez, even though his name doesn't sound very Tanzanian, but he's supposed to be Tanzanian. When you look at his LinkedIn profile, you'll see that he went to school and he did his A-level, secondary school in Tanzania. So I can only assume that he's from Tanzania, or at least one of his parents is. Benjamin Fernandez, he is revolutionizing the conversation on mobile money. And for some of us, what he's doing could really, really, really change and shake Africa. Because right now in Tanzania, at least before Benjamin Fernandez decided to do something about it, mobile money services were relatively difficult to use due to unstable internet and high service fees. And I think we can relate to that here in Ghana as well. But Benjamin Fernandez noticed that as he was hosting, as he was a national television host, he was also building a mobile money service to enable people to pay for TV subscriptions in East Africa. He was doing that back in 2011. 6 years later, he decided to start his own mobile money and wallet aggregator called Nala to solve some of these challenges that Tanzanians were experiencing. So its first mobile application allowed users to make mobile money payments and then use mobile banking without an internet connection. Can you imagine that? Kenya has done M-Pesa, but Tanzania is taking the conversation further with one Benjamin Fernandez, who in 2011 noticed that as a national television host, and whilst he was building a mobile money service to enable people to pay for TV subscriptions in East Africa, he realized that things were not so great. So he decided to up the conversation a bit and scale it. So he was fast and furiously working on things he could do to make lives easier for Tanzanians to use mobile money. 6 years later, in 2017, he started his own mobile money and wallet aggregator called Nala to solve some of these issues. Its first mobile application allowed users to make mobile money payments and then use mobile banking without an internet connection. The business then grew to 250,000 users in over a year after its official launch. It will be reminded that Kenya, for instance, had its highest ever inbound remittances at $3 billion, while World Remit acquired Sendwave in August 2020 for $500 million, and Mama Money claimed to have grown 500% within the year because of COVID and so on. So what Benjamin Fernandez is doing around mobile money is very interesting. We already know that he has this mobile money aggregator called Nala. And so with Nala noticed that an uptake in remittance requests, where 1 in 7 users wanted to receive money internationally, was happening a lot. So this happened despite not being in that business at the time. This is because presently over 70% of money sent to sub-Saharan Africa is transacted through physical stores. A lot of us have seen that. Sometimes you have to go to the bank, and then the bank will give you paper, then you fill in and so on. We don't always get it in easily through our mobile phones. sometimes, you'll get a notification and then you have to go somewhere, and it's usually a physical place. That is changing. That landscape is changing. So when many over-the-counter services were suspended or limited due to coronavirus restrictions, people were still left with expensive, unreliable, or hard-to-access alternatives. Combined with the increasing trend for digital-first financial services, and then listening to some users' requests, Nala, this mobile money aggregator by Benjamin Fernandez, they began testing international money transfers in August 2020, just a couple of months ago, to see whether they could facilitate payments from the UK to Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. So by building the multi-currency ledger where people can send money from the UK to Tanzania and back to the UK, Fernandez says Nala could build this system called WISE for Africa. WISE is a website that allows users who are in the US to send money all across the continent through euros, through different international currencies. So he's seeking to do something like that for the whole of Africa. But right now he's focusing on East Africa. That's where he's from. He wants to make sure that he satisfies his Tanzanian market and then the rest of East Africa. So let's watch out for Benjamin Fernandez. His name, like I said, doesn't sound very Tanzanian, but he is clearly a Tanzanian and he's doing great things for Africa. So let's watch out for him, because remittances and the conversation around remittances, that is the money that our diaspora send to us over here on the continent, is going to play a major role as AfCFTA has come upon us. You see, a lot of people will, especially because of COVID and the devastation that it has had on people's lives, will rely on their relatives in the diaspora, and remittances will play a huge role. So if we're able to sort out this issue of mobile money, receiving our remittances on our mobile phones, rather than having to go to a bank to go and receive it, will that not be better? Also, will that not allow us to observe COVID-19 protocols a lot better? Because we don't have to step out, we'll be in our homes and get our remittances. So this is definitely an important conversation to follow. And as ever, you will see that East Africa has pioneered it. We are waiting for the day when we can say that a West African has also pioneered something similar. So West Africans, wherever you are, please take note so that we'll be seeing more stuff of fintech stuff coming from you. So that's that for here in East Africa. Always happy to be bringing it to you. We're going to take a break, and then we'll delve right into the whole main discussion for today. We'll be right back. So welcome back from the break, and today I'm going to be offering you yet another editorial. The thing with these editorials is that what we want to do is that with these editorials, it's not going to be an editorial, it's going to be an editorial that will eventually translate into papers that we can take away and then use as action-oriented policies for the work that we do. Now, just something very important that we need to know about this second editorial is that for this editorial, I'm calling it Building Back Better. So, but it's not just Building Back Better alone. What we're trying to say is that the AfCFTA Policy Network is building back better in understanding of the African Continental Free Trade Area. So there are three ways in which the AfCFTA Policy Network is building back better. One way is through this series, this program, Agenda 2063 TV show. The second is through the Women of Africa Network, which is a subsidiary of AfCFTA Policy Network. And then third is the prioritization, the popularization of the AU Freedom of Movement Protocol and the African Migration Report. And I'm sure I'll be giving you updates on that in the next couple of episodes. But why is AfCFTA Policy Network building back better? Well, the reason why we're even talking about AfCFTA Policy Network at all is because this month even though this month was going to end soon. This month is 18 months since AfCFTA Policy Network was established. And sometimes it's good to get back to the history, good to reflect on how far the organization has come. And so this editorial, part 1 of 2, was thought of. Now, the reason why APN is building back better at all is because the African Continental Free Trade Area is an important discussion. We all know that. But it isn't only an important discussion for the private sector. A lot of people feel that it is the private sector that has brought the AfCFTA policy, the African Continental Free Trade Area. The truth is that it has been on the cards of the AU for a long time, since the Abuja Treaty days of 1991. It was just that Africa was distracted. It had a lot of issues. Peace and security was one of them, and there were issues to do with the World Bank, IMF, all these issues that needed to be dealt with. There was not yet a conducive environment to start looking at economic integration, because peace and security was the biggest headache that the AU had, and therefore needed to work on that, as well as also helping to emancipate countries that had not yet been liberated from, colonialism and so on. So now that the African Continental Free Trade Area is big news, it's all over the place, everyone is talking about it, some people are even calling themselves experts. And let me even say here that some of us are curious as to why some people would call themselves experts of the African Continental Free Trade Area, because the thing is a process. It's only just started. There are some experts indeed, people who were part of the negotiations, who negotiated with member states and so on. Yes, those are the real experts, but not ordinary people like us who are seeking to build on the knowledge and help teach others. For some of us, those cannot be experts, because we are all learning, and it's a process, and it has only just started. So how do you become an expert on something that has just started? So education, of course, is important, and we need to all learn something so that we can also teach others. That is a fact, and not everybody needs to bury their heads into something and then teach others. So education on AfCFTA is definitely very, very, very important. But what at AfCFTA Policy Network they've been seeking to do is to educate others on what African Continental Free Trade Area is, its connection with migration, peace and security, its connection with intra-African trade, its connection with SMEs, that's small and medium-sized enterprises, and so on. And so for that reason, the Agenda 2063 TV show has been very critical. It's at least reminded people that the Africa we want is possible, it can be done. Africans have been able to bring forth not just Agenda 2063, but also even the African Continental Free Trade Area. So really, the sky is our limit and beyond. So what we therefore need to do then is say that this show is here. How do we then use it to help remind Africans, the world, the research community, academia, that Africa has arrived and therefore it can do better? So what you do is by continuously educating, continuously improving, innovating on the education that we build, that we bring. The reason why, therefore, sometimes it's not always necessary to bring a guest for him or her to be interviewed, but sometimes editorials, as you may have seen on this show, we've had probably a lot more editorials, not necessarily half of the shows that we've done, but almost a third, because the editorials offer an opportunity to showcase to the world what we are thinking about the African Continental Free Trade Area, about peace and security, about freedom of movement, about migration, and why, therefore, people must come on board to help us carry this conversation further. Already with Agenda 2063 TV show, APN has done over 20 episodes, started from January 2020 up to March, taking a break, and then July to December 2020, and then January up to March now. So let's say 20 episodes or so, or a little bit more. We hope to be able to give you a list of all the episodes that have been done, including those editorials, so that you can get a good sense of what. But for us and for the APN, what has been good about it all is that the Association of African Universities, excellent work on ensuring that this program continues. Because Agenda 2063 is probably the only show, as we keep saying in the introduction, in Ghana, in the region, the continent, offering important updates on Africa's integration and also developments at the AU and some of its AU agencies. No show like that exists on private or local TV in Ghana, not because they don't want to do it, but because maybe it may not sell. It may not bring the eyeballs or may not bring the adverts that they need. But AAU TV has been very, very consistent in the kind of shows that it brings. And Agenda 2063 is a program that we must commend all the producers, the people who are behind it, because they've been doing a great job of bringing it as frequently as possible. It's a conversation that needs to be had. What is Agenda 2063? Why is it important? Why is that flagship Agenda 2063, where AfCFTA is a flagship program, why is it so important that we need to even have a show on it? These are the kind of questions that we seek to answer over time, not just in editorials, but in the show as well. And so APN has been very privileged to be part of this because a lot of people are now beginning to realize that African Continental Free Trade Area is not just private sector, it's also Agenda 2063. How do we get the Africa we want from the African Continental Free Trade Area? Like I said, it is continuously educating, and that's what the APN has been seeking to do on this. Now, like I said, the good thing is that with the editorials, it's a lot easier to bring papers out of these editorials, policy papers, therefore, that can be used to help others get a better sense of the position of the organization with respect to some of these issues on migration, peace and security, Agenda 2063, and so on and so forth. So we'll be giving you more updates on that as and when practicable. But I also want to say that with respect to Agenda 2063 TV show, we believe that it also has been an opportunity to help popularize the Association of African Universities as well, because a lot of people did not know that the AAU is an AU agency responsible for helping promote academia and promote, African universities. So the collaboration has also been very important, and we believe at APN that this has been very good. It's very interesting to note that it's a universities association that started really the work on promoting African Continental Free Trade Area and Agenda 2063. In fact, it is the right forum to do that. Not some private sector somewhere doing it, but a research agency of the AU or an academic agency of the AU to do that. Now, secondly, Women of Africa Network. Women of Africa Network is subsidiary of the AfCFTA Policy Network. It is what you can call the de facto women's agency. It is actually a registered, agency of AfCFTA Policy Network, seeking to highlight the importance of women and how women can be empowered in the conversation on the African Continental Free Trade Area. The UN Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, has something that calls the Informal Cross-Border Trade, ICBTD, Informal Cross-Border Trade, which speaks to the trade that happens across borders. Usually it's done by women. Usually it's about 70 to 80% done by women. It happens in West Africa, East Africa, across the different parts of Africa. But it is not recorded. So a lot of the time, trade statistics does not capture this informal cross-border trade. So Women of Africa coming into existence is an opportunity to remind the world that women have been playing a major part in the conversation on AfCFTA, even before the name AfCFTA was born. Because our grandmothers, let's face it, all of us, our grandmothers, grand aunts, and all these, some of our sisters, they all have at least once sold stuff across the border. In Ghana, we have the Ghana-Togo border. Some of us have had relatives who have sold stuff across the border. Some of our relatives have crossed the border into Togo to do business as and when necessary, and then come back and sold those wares here in Ghana. It happens in our Côte d'Ivoire border as well, and Ghana border, Burkina Faso, Ghana border, and so on. And it happens all over the world, at least all over the African continent where borders exist, that a lot of revenue is to be made across those. And usually it is women who are doing these things. So now that AfCFTA is here, what do we do to make sure that the women who will continue to sell at these borders are able to do it in a way that is equitable to them, that they still get their revenue, but it still also makes sense? They do not necessarily have to understand what AfCFTA is. All they need to know is that AfCFTA is here, and then AfCFTA, it could be called a different name for them to understand that what they have been doing for many, many years is all part of AfCFTA. But it is still very important, and it is still very useful in helping raise, livelihoods and raise families. And especially at a time that there's a public health pandemic, what better time than to use all our resources as much as possible, whether it's informal cross-border trade or whatever, to make sure that our women, our mothers, our sisters, our aunties, our grandmothers are still doing business across borders in a way that will accrue benefit to them and also to their families. So Women of Africa Network is an opportunity to let the world know that women are as important for the month of March, that is Women's Month, as they are also to the conversation on AfCFTA. The good thing is that the AfCFTA Secretariat is working on a women's protocol. They declared it, I think, about 2-3 weeks ago. And so the AfCFTA Policy Network's Women of Africa Network will definitely be shadowing this all-important protocol, because we'd want to unpack this protocol and see how exactly it will help women. How will it make sure that they are still getting their money's worth now that the market is open for all sorts of stuff from the continent to come into Ghana, to Nigeria, to Côte d'Ivoire, and so on? How will they still make their money when the goods are coming from all over the continent? So that is what the protocol is about, and that is what Women of Africa, one of the things that they will be seeking to do as part of the Empowering Program, is to look at how women will benefit from the conversation around AfCFTA in a way that has not been seen before. Because usually trade is a very, very male-centered activity. A lot of the time it is men who are trading, businessmen and so on. But when it comes to cross-border trade, it has always and will always be women. So their experiences need to be unpacked for a lot of people, but also needs to be made simpler. They need to understand how they can also benefit, so that they don't have to be at an office before they make money. They can still be doing their business wherever they're doing at the borders, but know that they are raising families, that they are raising livelihoods, and that they are also building back better for their own self. So that is the second thing on the Women of Africa Network. Now, the final thing is for this editorial, is on the popularization of the AU Freedom of Movement Protocol and African Migration Report. Now, since the Tana Forum, and the Tana Forum being the space by the Tana Forum Secretariat in Addis, where it brings together a whole lot of experts, NGOs, policymakers to discuss the critical areas of peace and security on the continent. And it does this every year. This year, we are yet to see the new theme that will be discussed. But last year, the theme was AfCFTA and peace and security issues. APN had an opportunity to attend this, was invited to make a presentation on AfCFTA. And since then, in October, it has begun to develop an important engagement with the UN's Agency on Migration, that is the International Organization for Migration. While there is an office for IOM here in Ghana, and has been doing good work, doing research on why people are going to Libya and which regions show more people leaving the shores of Ghana. And it turned out that then Brahafo region was a region that saw a lot of Ghanaians leaving the region to go to Libya and all these other places. So the IOM in Ghana is doing very good work on that kind of work here in Ghana and doing some stuff with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and so on. What the IOM's agency in Addis and Ethiopia is doing is a little bit different. What they're doing is ensuring that the conversation on migration and especially the freedom of movement protocol happens. So the AfCFTA Policy Network's relationship has engagement with the IOM has increased over the past, let's say, 4 or 5 months. APN has been invited to webinars, side panel discussions, and hopefully there'll be a collaboration soon where the IOM and APN will be helping promote the AU's freedom of movement protocol. Why is this important? You may recall that in previous editorials, we have said that AfCFTA is here, we want to trade. But we cannot trade if we cannot move freely. So how do we square, being able to trade whatever products we have, whatever ideas we have, when we cannot move freely, let's say, to Cameroon? A Cameroonian coming to Ghana, for example, has to pay $150 when he enters the airport in Ghana. So that's $150. That's very expensive, $150. Why will that Cameroonian feel that they need to come to Ghana when they can go to Rwanda and just pay $30, when they can go to Ethiopia and just pay $30? These are some of the things that we need to look at on the continent in Ghana. $150 surely is too expensive. We are talking about intra-African trade. Cameroonians have a lot of products that they may want to sell, not just to Nigeria, which is closer to them, but also to Ghana. Why do we make it so difficult for them by still maintaining a visa fee of $150? It's too expensive. These are some of the things that come under migration. The Cameroonian is African. It may be Central African, but they want to also come and do business in Ghana. And they're paying $150 before they set foot in Ghana. So let's also be mindful as we go forward. Visa fees for Africans, why must it be so high? These are the important conversations we need to have going forward, because African Continental Free Trade Area is about moving freely. It's about African trade. But let's not kid ourselves that money grows on trees. We all know it doesn't. And we know that there's no pot in the ground. There's no hole in the ground where we can pick money from anytime we want it. We have to find money from somewhere. Sometimes even go and get a loan. So why would someone's uncle in Cameroon want to give them $150 to come to Ghana to come and do business when the visa fees is so high? He would say, okay, it's cheaper to fly to come to, let's say, Rwanda. The fees are, when you compare flying to Rwanda and flying to Ghana, it's a lot less expensive. So why not go to Rwanda, where you also pay $30 just to enter the country? So those are the things we must begin to think about. We shouldn't always feel that countries like Ghana, that we are an oasis of peace, so it's enough. No, other countries are doing things a lot better. We have talked about, for example, ICT. Safaricom is doing so well. We've talked about, look at this Tanzanian here in East Africa, who is helping mobile money for East Africans. When are we going to see a West African do something like this? It's not to say that they're not there, but why is it that there's something in East Africans that we see that ICT and FinTech, they're really working on very well? So we need to get to that stage where we are learning from these regions. They're all our brothers and sisters. It's by accident that I was born in Ghana, someone will be born in East Africa. We don't control that. But we can control the fact that we're Africans and we can work together. So what do we do now that COVID has hit to all build back better for each and every single one of us? For this editorial, I talked about the 3 things, at least part 1 of 2, the 3 things for this part, because of time constraints, that APN is doing to build back better understanding of AfCFTA. Next week, I'll be taking a look at the other 3 things that APN is also doing to help build back better as well, generally, in every possible way, shape, or form. But as we begin to close this editorial and this episode, just want you to remind yourselves of the need that Agenda 2063 is not going to go away. Agenda 2063 is the black man's African dream. The West or the US talks about the American dream. Agenda 2063 has to be the African man's dream or the African dream. It has everything that the UN Sustainable Development Goals talks about. It was even born before the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and yet a lot of people are still mentioning the SDGs as if, Agenda 2063 was not there before. So Agenda 2063 is important to the African, and we need to promote it, we need to support it, we need to do the hashtag on Twitter, hashtag Africa We Want, because we will get there, we will get the Africa we want. We may not get it for our children or our grandchildren, but we can get it for our generations, and we need to work hard to do that. The Europeans did their best to leave good futures for their grandchildren and their children. We can also do the same for our continent. Despite slavery and all these things that have happened to us, we can still get the Africa we want now that AfCFTA is here. We need to build back better. We need to get serious, and we need to also make the AU a global player, the player that it can be, to ensure that it can also sit at the table with the West and make demands of what can be taken out of the continent, what can stay in the continent, and so on and so forth. These things need to happen. AfCFTA is here, we can make it work. So in closing, I just want to say that it's always a pleasure coming your way, and I hope that this editorial has inspired you to remind yourself that it is not all hope and doom, all gloom and doom on the continent. Africa is going places, and AfCFTA, being in Ghana, home of Kwame Nkrumah, is an opportunity to do lots of beautiful things. So let's get reading, let's get talking to each other and how we can come together as associations, as groups, as women's networks, as all sorts of networks to help respond to the call that AfCFTA has presented itself to us, that Africa is a great continent and we can make it work. We can make paradise on the continent as well. Already Europeans, all these people are coming to Africa to come and enjoy our beautiful beaches. Why can't we begin to create it well enough for us to enjoy our beaches as well? My name is E.K Bensah Jr. Happy to be coming your way. Hope to be coming your way next week as well with the exciting segments of here in East Africa, APRM Watch, and the robust, thought-provoking editorial that will get you to think about Agenda 2063 and how you must revisit that book regularly. It's not that difficult a book to read. It's about 8-9 pages, reminding yourself about things, the aspirations of Agenda 2063 and how it can make the African, worthy in ways in which they have not been worthy before. So please get to your books and leave comments on Twitter, AAU_67, Association of African Universities TV on YouTube, on Facebook as well. It has 15.1 thousand followers. Thank you to all the people who have continued to support AAU TV's YouTube, and we hope that it continues to grow and you continue to support all the other programs on AAU TV as well. And to commend the great production team who continue to, make all the great shows that they do. Let's remember that it is all done by Africans, and they're doing great work. So let's give them important commendations to help them get the Africa they also want. Hope to speak to you next time. My name is E.K Bensah Jr. Thank you and goodbye. you.